In this video, I want to talk a bit about what are the barriers to entry and exit of industries. So, if we start with what are the different types of barriers to entry, well, there can be two types of barriers to entries. There can be innocent barriers to entry and deliberate barriers to entry. Innocent barriers to entry are ones that occur naturally, and deliberate are the ones that are done on purpose. So, the first innocent barrier to entry will be brand actually it could be deliberate as well, brand loyalty and market share. If you were naturally the first firm like Amazon to start up internet book selling and everything, even as time goes on, you will retain a certain market share and a certain inelastic demand because you were the first, and it's something that you've got naturally. Another barrier to entry is capital cost. Machinery can be expensive. If you want to start your own oil refinery, the refinery is going to cost a lot of money. So this is something that deters people from entering a market. And it's not something that firms do on purpose, that is just what it is. It's like sunk costs. Now this can also be deliberate. Sunk costs are costs that you cannot get back. So if I spend money on advertising, if my business goes bust, I will never get that money back. What's not a sunk cost is a capital cost, because if I put money in machinery, okay, I might not get the whole amount of money that I spent on it back, but I will get some money back. So sunk costs can be like advertisement, people's wages, anything really that you won't get your money back if your business was to go bust. This means that there's a a higher losing risk. There's more to be lost, and this becomes a barrier to entry. People don't enter a market where there's a lot to lose. They want to be safe. Control of inputs. This is an innocent barrier to entry as well, because it can be done on purpose, but generally it just ends up being that you have the input. So I can't remember which firm it is, but they have they have most of the diamond mines because they do some work with the diamonds. So that creates barrier to entry for anybody else who's trying to enter the diamond market, because they know they'll have to pay more for their diamonds than the other firms, as they're gonna have to pay like the markup for their suppliers, whereas this firm, it's their input, they don't have to pay markup to themselves. You have legal barriers to entry. So if you're entering uh the real estate market, have a property company to set up or something, there are a lot of barriers to entry, particularly in the UK. You have to have so much paperwork, so legal barriers to entries, and they're not something firms create, it just is the case. The last innocent barrier to entry would be economies of scale, because you naturally, when you grow so big, you sort of benefit from economies of scale. So if it's not something that you do deliberately, but by actually using your purchasing economies of scale and so on, you are creating barriers to entry for other firms, because they cannot sell at the price you are, or they cannot compete with you, or they won't have the same benefits as you. Deliberate barriers to entry include two major pricing strategies. One is predatory pricing. This is when a firm decides to set their price lower than their cost. So this means that around the short run they'll make a loss, but this way they'll gain the market share. And by gaining market share, they deter other people from entering, because they've got brand loyalty, and other new firms cannot sell at this price level. Limit pricing is when you look at the other firms' average cost and you price it below their average cost. So if your cost is £5, I'm going to sell my product for £4, because I know you can't sell your product at £4 because you'll make a loss, and I'll take the market share, again creating a barrier to entry. People can't compete. Market and brand image. If you spend a lot of money on advertising and making a brand image, promoting people, using loyalty cards and whatnot, then it's hard for new firms to come in, because all of this costs money and they cannot do it, and then they need to create a brand image in order to be successful like you. Barriers to exit. This I haven't seen come up that much in the economics exams, but I'll just talk a bit about it anyway. So the first is making employees redundant, the legal issues surrounding it. So it's a cost, to be able to let people go, make them redundant in a legal and a proper fashion, because you have to give them, I think, redundant pay, and then you have to give so many months or whatever to them to leave to find a new job. So all of these things are costs. You have to sell your premises. So if you have a building or something, you're going to have to sell that if you're going to go bust, and that's a cost, because then you have to get the lawyers, the surveyors, the so on. And if you are on rent, then if you break the contract or you don't pay, you'll still have to, if you break the contract, I'm sure there's fines and stuff. But if you are not in the building or not using it, you will still have to pay rent for however long your contract lasts, your lease lasts. Selling stock, well, if you it's a barrier to exit, because you can't just leave an industry with all this stock of, let's say, t-shirts. You have to sell it off before you can leave. So that's another thing. Notifying customers and suppliers. If you have a lot of supplies, like if you're a shop like ASOS, which basically supplies for French Connection, for Fire Trap, for basically Oasis, Warehouse, River Island. They supply for so many of these people as well as their own. If they were to go bust, then they would have to negotiate and sort of sort out with all the suppliers that we're going bust. They have so many customers. The customers would be annoyed. And when there was a big hoo-ha and people were trying to find ways to do it, it's the same kind of thing here. So notifying. And if supply contracts are broken, so say River Island and ASOS have a contract that River Island will supply ASOS for 1 year, but after 6 months ASOS goes bust and the supply contract is broken, there will be penalties and there will be punishments, because River Island would have had to keep that stock ready. It would have, their suppliers would be going to send it to them, and the chain of production and so on. So that's another barrier to entry. Anyway, so this is a quick video on the barriers to entry and exit, and I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching.